He's here. We've been waiting for him. The legend.
The legend.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing human being. Amazing musician. And you know what? Zed, I'm somebody who has a music degree as well, so I understand. Wait, I think I just lost your microphone again.
Oh, sorry, I turned it
Oh,
off for a second. Where'd you
there we
get
go.
your music degree from?
I went to Westchester University of Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, I saw you went to Berkeley, right?
Yeah, I went to Berkeley College of Music.
So let me ask you this, and this part of the interview was going to be more towards like the middle of it, but now that we're talking about it, let's talk about it. Uh,
Hmm.
you were one of the first few people accepted to Berkeley for rap, right?
Yeah. Yes,
So
I was the first to get accepted through an audition, and I was the second person there to get. The first person was I think Daria Wilson, and she won from like a Vibe magazine like contest or something.
mm,
And then I was the first person through like audition who got into the school and did the whole thing.
gotcha. Damn, dude. First of all, that's amazing.
Thank
But
you.
let me ask you this, and me having the music degree and having gone through the music school experience, my assumption is that a lot of the people who play the quote unquote real music, did you receive any adversity from people like that? Like, did people try to hold you back because they weren't like rappers or anything? Like, how was that experience?
No, well, no, because that's the thing too. Is like I think especially when you're around musicians who are doing it at because Berkeley's really high level. Like especially the year I came in, like 10% of people were accepted, and they started that was around the year when like colleges started to like okay we have to start ramp like the year after was when they started like okay we got to increase tuition to ramp up increase admissions to ramp up like the money we're getting because we're becoming more profitable. All that shit started to happen around like across the nation a lot more. um but specifically everybody at Berkeley is really fucking good at what they do. The school is rife with people who you're like holy shit, like stuff that you would think is like really top tier people do is just kind of the norm there.
Mhm.
And generally when you need to get to that level for music, you kind of realize because I thought it was going to be like that, and you kind of realize like people like most musicians hate that shit. Like when people go into music and you say that's not real music, anybody who works professionally as a musician and is doing it at a high level thinks that's fucking stupid, right?
Mhm.
So I got a lot of props from jazz teachers, like some of the biggest jazz names you've ever heard. I got to meet Harry Belafonte
Hell
while I
yeah.
was there. We did an honorary doctorate for Harry Belafonte, who, if you know who he is a fucking legend, and he gave me props. Who else? Like a lot. My teacher, my private instructing teacher, was an opera teacher, and she specifically figured out like she had these things where like you could if you she'll tell you hey point here and then look like this and then open your jaw and then you would hear a noise come out and you're like oh that's amazing. So she gave me all these technical exercises to help me like breathe better in my rap and to help me enunciate better and to help me do things, and I still use those to today. So there was a lot of it was a much more positive experience because a lot of the musicians there were really fucking good at what they do, and they were all like oh that's cool, it's a rapper. I'm not going to say it was like all like there were a few people who were like a little bit hesitant to that. There were some faculty who were like, I don't know if that's really, there were times where I faced that. Um, but it was either hard line, like this is awesome and we need to use this, or this can't be a part of our thing, get the fuck out. But it was a largely positive experience. My experience at Berkeley was a largely positive experience that I mean, all the stuff you've heard for the last couple of years would not be possible without that. And it's very different now if you try to go to college at Berkeley. I mean, that's not to say like it's a bad thing, but like the way just colleges are in general is not a great. It's not the best experience.
Yeah, 100%. And let me ask you this: did you know how to read music and everything before you went into Berkeley?
No, fuck
Did
no. And
did they
even
teach you
like
to?
even the most they try to teach it. Like that's the thing too, is like a lot of the quote unquote things of like, oh, you're a good musician are kind of like you realize what the actual barometers are for that
Mhm.
because people give you different things. Most people like when they're trying to judge like who's a quote unquote like real music or real musician, um, most like really fucking insane musicians, like who are like working and doing crazy songs and pushing sonic soundscapes forward and everything like that, a lot of them can't read music.
Hmm.
A lot of them are really good at playing and just play by ear, right? So a lot of times, like for example, they taught me to write lead sheets. So in Berkeley, like when you're doing music, you can either write like full on sheet music, or you can write basically this thing that jazz musicians created called a lead sheet, where it's like,
Hmm.
okay, this is the groove. It's going to repeat like 500 times. Here it is, and every musician who just sees that sheet is going to be like, oh, okay, I know how to play this immediately, right? Um, and so I didn't really know a lot about. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about theory. When I first came into like the theory class, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because they just assume that you know how to play piano,
Yeah.
and if you don't know how to play piano, you're kind of fucked. But I had this great teacher. His name is, oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. We're like really good friends too. I'm fucking mad. I'll get his name real quick. But like he was my Harmony 3. Harmony is what they call the music theory class there.
Hmm.
Harmony 3 teacher. And he taught me, like, he made that so much fun. Like once you learn that like harmony is just math, it's like the fucking coolest shit in the world. And I also had like a chip on my shoulder because like when I started doing Street Fighter music, a lot of motherfuckers were like, "Oh, you're not like real music and all that shit." And I had to deal with all of that, and it got to me. And I also grew up in Irvine, which was very discounting of rap music. So I was just like,
Hmm.
I have this huge chip on my shoulder. Like, I'm gonna learn music, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I'm gonna prove to you it's real. And also going there, most real musicians fucking hated that attitude that this is not real music.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't know how to read music when I got there. I still don't. I know how to, like, if you give me like 5 minutes, I can like, oh yeah, I know what's going on here, right? But most people just don't. You're not reading. It's inefficient in certain genres to like
Yeah.
write out sheet music for
Yeah.
what you're trying to do.
Yeah. No. I had when when that clicked for me is I wound up playing at Warp Tour, like just randomly,
Oh fuck yeah!
with Fishbone, Angelo Moore,
Oh
and
holy
those
shit!
guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this was in like 2010, I think.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
they sent me a bunch of sheet music beforehand because I think their bass player, who I still
I'm gonna
talk
turn
to,
on my fan real quickly. Keep talking. Sorry.
do it up. But yeah, their bass player, Jeffrey Connors, I think his name is, who I still keep up to this day, like sent me a bunch of sheet music, so I just made sure I had my shit together. But when we were rehearsing before we went on, and Angelo Moore was just like, "Oh, I don't read that shit," and it was like one of those moments where it's like, "Oh, damn," just because like
I
no, it's just one of those things where like coming up, like I was a trombone player, and sorry,
sorry. Give me a sec.
no, all good.
Sorry. I realized that like my thing was like facing the wrong way, so I was trying to like flip it, and I
Gotcha.
didn't do it. I didn't do the right one. There you go. Okay, there you go.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
No,
Now we're facing each other.
fuck yeah. Well, high five.
High five. Yeah. Or wait, hold up.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. It was very smooth and seamless. It's like it actually happened.
Yeah. Am I synced or am I super out of sync right now?
No, you're good on my end.
Oh, cool,
It's gonna look a
Okay.
little bit weird to you just because it's sending you the direct feed, so it's gonna look
I
like
got
it's a
you.
little
I
bit
got you.
behind.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but no, it's really interesting because I came up learning trombone where it's like you play classical music, you play jazz music. It's like, oh, you have to learn this way. This is the way that it's done, and I think that's why a lot of
Yeah.
people show resistance to newer music, right? Especially people who either learn it however they can. Uh,
Hmm.
so I just find that so interesting that like it's always like you have to learn it this way because this is the way music has been taught for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and people are so afraid to step out of that mold that when somebody does, like it's like a mind-blowing experience to the point where like they either don't want to see it or like it's like completely
Yeah.
changes somebody's life.
Well, it changed my life because like I grew up like thinking like, oh man, Drake isn't real music. This isn't real music because I grew up in Irvine. But like a big thing was like going there. I remember saying that where I was like, I don't think Drake is real rap. And the drummer who I've kind of worked with for a while, he's fucking amazing jazz drummer. His name is Dimitri Albano, and he's a great pop drummer too. He was just like, yeah, okay, but like shut the fuck up and listen to it because that's who you're competing against. and you have to you don't have to like it, you have to understand it though.
Yeah.
And I credit so much with that because they do this thing at Berkeley where they called sound alikes, where it sounds so fucked up, but like you pretty much just recreate a song, but you have to create it exactly. So if you're recreate, so they made me recreate like "Crank That" by Soldier Boy,
Mm.
and like I fucking hated that song so much growing up because I was fucking like, oh, gatekeepy, and they made, okay, so you have to find the exact kick, you have to find the exact steel drum, right? You have to find exactly what's playing here. You have to have, and your voice has to sound like Soldier Boy's, right? You have to try to push your voice to sound like that. And the first time I did it, I was just like, oh fuck, this is really great, because all of a sudden you understand the thought process of why, when you start sequencing things, you understand the thought process of why that's there. When you start saying his lyrics with his kind of intonation, even if you're not getting it exactly, you understand what the appeal of what he's trying to do is. Even if it's something like Soldier Boy, like, oh, it's whatever, there is something there that is catchy and interesting for the industry. um and like, even like stuff like Tupac and all that kind of stuff, when you do sound alikes like that, a lot of musicians do that because it's like you're eating somebody's brain, you're eating here
Mhm.
all of their information at once. And so I think, like, especially with like uh oh, this is the way you do things, that's such a block for so many fucking people.
Yeah.
And it's a telltale sign to see that some, I don't mean asshole, but it's kind of a telltale sign to see somebody isn't like serious. There's a
Mhm.
lot of successful people who are like, who say that and they're like at the top of their game, and then you don't see them like 3 years later
Yep.
because they just don't. That's like the whole thing, is like music keeps changing. And I remember, I'm sorry I talk so much, but I
Oh
remember
no.
when I was in high school, and like a lot of the rappers I listened to in high school, uh, I would like a few of them, and then a couple of them I was like, this isn't real music, this is trash, this isn't real lyricism. And then 9 to 10 years later, when like mumble rap and everything broke, people were like, oh no, that was real music. This
Mhm.
isn't real music. This is da da da. And now you see a lot of people who are going back to like Juice World and a lot of old people who are like mumble rapping, like, this is real music, not this shit. And it's just a continuous thing because soundscapes consistently change and they come back and they morph. And um, if you think that things are not like real, quote unquote, real music, it's just a different metric. You're not listening. Most musicians are evolving. Like, the musicians right now are at an insane level that you haven't heard. And if you don't believe me, ask any musician to play one of the old songs you like, and they will kill that shit. They will fucking kill that shit and be like, that was boring. And then
Mhm.
they'll move on to something else, you know? So,
Yeah. No, it's crazy too. I unfortunately don't play anymore due to an injury, but
oh, I'm sorry.
it was the right thing. It was one of those like blessing in disguises type of thing. But I spent a lot of time, like doing the musician hustle, right? Like traveling between Philadelphia and New York, like playing
Yeah.
hella late and all this other stuff. And I got to hang out with a lot of people who studied at, places like Juilliard and places like Manhattan School of Music. And
Yeah.
it was very bizarre that like in somewhere like Juilliard, where it's like very hoity-toity, very like proper, the people who were teaching but weren't working were the people who were like, oh no, this is all wrong, blah 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 blah. But the people
Dude.
who were
Yep.
working and were doing the
Yeah.
stuff like were so supportive, right? Like one of the people that I worked with there uh told me to listen to Biggie. And I grew up, like, I was born in Brazil, but I grew up in like rural Pennsylvania, where it's just like ignorant city. It's
Oh,
bigot
shit.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so I never really listened to hip hop or rap growing up. However, like when I was a musician, this was in like 2013, 2014. Somebody sat me down and was like, "Hey, listen to Biggie." And I was like, "Oh, I don't like that, blah 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 blah." But they were like, "No, just listen to it." And after listening to it and like hearing how complex like the chord structures are to their songs and how like meaningful the songs are, was like a mind-blowing experience, right? So
Yeah.
like hearing something that you aren't expecting to hear, that you are supposed to hate after a while, is like crazy. It like makes you
No, but
question
but
everything.
also it's like, a lot of times, so there's two things. Like, one, like, a lot of times music is just supposed to be music is the most fun and the most impactful when you leave your shit at the door and are just open to stuff.
Yeah.
It just is. Like if you like, and again, there are times where you just want comfort food and the stuff that you like, right? I like mid 2000s hip hop, right? And like early 90s hip hop sometimes. And I like pop music. I do.
Mhm.
And I like Japanese music sometimes. Um but then sometimes, like, if you just leave your shit at the door, you get exposed to a lot of really cool stuff, and all of a sudden you have just this whole other view of how things. One thing that happened was I worked at Apple Music for a little bit, and one of my bosses was like super like into like trying to make sure like Latinx got their shine. And on Apple Music, we promote a lot of Latinx artists or just Latin artists. I'm not gonna say Latinx artists, but a lot of reggaeton, a lot of
Mm.
bachata, like a lot of different stuff. And it was so like listening because having to make like content for that like for a while was like you kind of got like why it was so hype, right? And why it was so interesting. And it was kind of interesting, like watching people like backlash towards reggaeton, backlash towards that kind of stuff, because you don't really see like you're like, why is this aversion? It's very similar to rap. I think even like, and you were mentioning Juilliard. I think what's interesting too about like classical music, especially with like classical musicians, is yeah, a lot of people who are very gatekeepy don't really work all that much. And it's by the way, it's also like it's not even like a talent thing. It's you have a giant block in talent if you're not willing to be open like that. By
Mhm.
the way, that's not me trying to be an asshole. It's just like that's just an industry. Everyone knows that. Like unfortunately, but like also when when you are like you're just like kind of a dick to work with. Like people don't like working with those kind of people.
Yeah.
Those people tend to be very, very uh like averse to like social situations and like just getting along and following directions, like being organized with the material and trying to work as a team. Like those people are just very, very averse to that,
Mhm.
or more averse than others. The other thing I will say about that is a lot of that classical music stuff where you are like, oh well, this isn't real music, or you're very like gatekeepy, is kind of antithetical to classical music because
Mhm.
a lot of the stuff the like that's Beethoven's whole fucking career.
Yep.
Like that's the guy's whole career was like, because if you've never listened to music before, like in tonal harmony, which is classical music, um, when you're moving, like the whole thing is movement, right? So like when you have like let's say you have the bass note and you have the top note, um, you can't. You're supposed to be going in opposite directions the whole time, and if you do this,
Mhm.
you have like desecrated God and man.
Yep.
Like it's like a huge issue to do because it's called parallel fifths. If you go from
Mhm.
a fifth to another fifth, it's fucked up. So they like at Berkeley they'll give you tests like where you have to like lead a chord structure and you can't fucking do that or you fail. And like that is like that's the only thing you can do. But that shit's all over pop music.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers will do parallel fifths all the fucking time because it sounds good. It sounds cool. You will go from a fifth to a fifth, and uh like Beethoven would do that shit. Beethoven would do shit that you're not supposed to do because he's just like, fuck you. I don't give a
Mhm.
shit. This is a romantic era. I'm gonna do whatever I want. And like a lot of that stuff is disruptive because it changes the way you look at music. Jazz, the existence of jazz itself is just a giant disruption of music.
Mhm.
It's chromatic. It has rhythms that you're not supposed to play. It is where all the liquor and the fucked up things are. If you lived in the 20s,
Yeah.
um, learning about music, I just felt like a lot more like self-esteem with myself,
Mhm.
like for being into hip hop, because I just kind of realized like it's a panic that doesn't make any fucking sense,
Right.
and it'll get out. It'll die, and largely, most people who are serious kind of understand this at this point. Um, and everybody, like everything on the Mortal Kombat video, anytime I see somebody who's like, "What's this crap?" and they like capitalize art, like Ray can't spell crap without rap. Uh,
Yeah. Yep.
I It's like 30 followers. It's not. I can't like reasonably take it seriously anymore. Like after. That's everything I've fucking done in the last 2 years.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's funny you mentioned the parallel fits because a teacher of mine, theory teacher of mine, used to always say like every time you write parallel fifths, Bach kills a puppy. Uh,
Yeah,
which is so stupid.
yeah.
But yeah. And
Mozart snorts a line of coke or something. I don't know.
exactly. But like like you, since we're both musicians, I'm sure we could talk about music a lot. But
Yeah,
to tie this back to fighting game stuff, this also happens in fighting games, right? Where people like you have a lot of people who grew up playing Third Strike. Street Fighter 4 comes out, they're like, "Oh, Third Strike was the real game."
bro, bro,
It's almost the exact same
bro.
thing.
It was the entirety of like I think all that. When did you join FGC stuff?
I started like right at the end of Arcade Edition 2012, so right before Street Fighter 4 Ultra came in.
So I got really into Street Fighter in 2006 when I like Street Fighter Daigo Parry,
Mm,
and then when Street Fighter 4 came out, I was like, oh shit! Like Street Fighter, got into Street Fighter 3, not Street Fighter 6. Like when Daigo Parry came out, and then
yeah.
Street Fighter 4, I was like super into it. In 2009, but in 2009, motherfuckers were all like, man, why can't we just go back to Third Strike? Fucking invincible wake ups is some bullshit. These kids can't, like Combo Fiend told me one time, like he's like, oh, these kids just want to fucking press a button. They all just want to press a button. If you just sit there, they're just gonna press a fucking button. It's like fighting a moving training dummy. And so like it was like, and then Vi talked about it. It was a very interesting time because everybody was like, and you noticed that like people who loved Third Strike fucking hated Street Fighter 4. They hated it. And they wanted a pure footsies based game. They didn't want all these link combos. They wanted it so where it's like, okay, you're basically neutral all the time, and it's whoever wins the neutral game. And they got Street Fighter 5, and they're like, this is terrible. Why can't we have Street Fighter 4 again? And like Street Fighter 5 did have problems, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
have a lot of issues with Street Fighter 5. But like, yeah, that is so fucking true. I talked to Watson
Mhm.
and a lot of the old like heads, dude. All of them, like you notice, like the game that they came in on, they fucking hate every other game. So like Watson is like, I was like, what's the problem with Super? Is like, well, what the fuck? Like, so you just get to fucking, they just want a flashy fucking move and to take off like half your health after I beat your ass. Fuck that shit. Like people can just charge Super in the corner, like in Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Like they were fucking mad about supers. Um, fucking Marvel they had problems with,
Mhm.
like I mean at least at the time they told me. And then like Alpha Games they felt some type of way about.
Yeah, like air
um
blocking in alpha games, like I'm sure people lost their shit over.
I mean, like, but it was just like it wasn't even like the problem with the mechanic. It's like, oh, the mechanic isn't weaved in strategically, which is a way to say that it's just kind of
Yeah.
different. um not not to say that they're wrong, but like it's just historically like people just don't like new shit, right?
Mhm.
Like, and also keep in mind, like even now with Street Fighter 6, I think was something that people should remember is that there are people who are playing this shit, that's their job, and that is a different kind of like weight that puts on you. I see a lot of people who play this game for like 2 hours a day echoing things that people who play it for like 12 hours a day say, and I'm like, bro, you're not good enough to say that. you can't you can't say that. Like you can, but it's not your opinion.
Right.
It's like when it's like the only thing I can relate the couple things I can relate to aside from Street Fighter is like being a musician. When motherfuckers like when other rappers come up to me, because there's a thing in rap where just people just immediately think when other rappers come up to me and give me advice, and they're just like not doing anything. Like I've seen a lot of armchair
Mhm.
fucking bar rappers since the Mortal Kombat thing came out. Um, like it's just you realize that okay, you're not. This is the level these people are operating at. You're echoing this level without the context there.
Yep.
So I think like a lot of the issues of Street Fighter 6 are there, but some of them are exaggerated because when you play this game for 8 hours a day, it's going to fucking weigh on you. And some of them are pretty legitimate and need to be fixed, like
Mhm.
JP. And you know, like you can still like a game and it can still have problems. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna happen. You're playing this game like for hours upon hours. Like when you beat Tears of the Kingdom, you'll beat it. Like you're not gonna fucking try to break unless you're a speedrunner, and even then, that's a whole other thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny because there was Branford Marsalis, who's Wynton Marsalis's brother, said one
Mhm.
time, and he said this about music, but I think it's so true about like every other industry. It's that at times it just feels like it's a bunch of people in a room just winking at each other. It's like, oh, yep, I understand. And then when one person stops winking, when one person questions why everybody's winking, they either tell that person to leave or they beat them up until they leave. And then it's just a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So that's what it kind
But
of
that's what
feels when
makes
people.
it
No,
but
go ahead.
that's the beauty of the exchange, right?
Hmm.
Like, especially with music, is like, because when you're in a room with people who know, if you've never done music before, like, a big thing about music is like, if you know your instrument, it's like your voice, right? And if you like, when I know rap, there's a lot of shit that I can do. People are like, how do you do that? It's like, well, it's just, it's there. It's like, it's under my fingers, right? So everybody winking is kind of magic. It's magic because it's fun. You're trying to keep the ball in the air. And sometimes it is good to question, why is everybody winking so much? But I think I would challenge that and say sometimes it's not a question, it's an interruption.
Hmm.
Like, if you're trying to ask why everybody, it has this like secret code that's going around, or this magic that's in the air that's kind of unspoken, um and you want to disrupt it so you get attention, that is different from, hey, how we can we improve this? There are top
Yeah.
players who are complaining about Street Fighter 5 who are frustrated, who are just like, this is my job, man. And I think like
Hmm.
some of it's not phrased great, but it's legitimate. Like, you're frustrated. This is your job and you have to fucking figure this shit out. There are some people who are complaining about this game who are just really bad at this game.
Yep.
And I'm bad at this game, but I will 100% call motherfuckers bad because I know people who are good. Like, there are people who are bad at this game who are complaining because they want attention,
Yeah.
and that's not great. Like, when you complain about the state of rap because you want attention, that's not great. You know, if you're working and you're playing, and like, if there's legitimate things that are taking food out of your mouth, then yeah, you have reason to complain. But like, you're not there yet. There's so much more that you have to work on. Like, there's a lot of I complain about JP and Ryu. There's a lot more that I have to do before I can like really like say like this is a fucking broken game. Because if I'm not even playing the game right. Like, it's only like, guys, it's only like less than 3 months, man. We're not
Hmm.
playing the game right. Like, it's less than a year old. It's games are completely different a year after they're out. You know, um, and yeah, you'll see how things develop.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I wanted to mention this, but I kept forgetting.
Sorry, I talk so much.
You apologized for talking too much. This is a talk show. That's what we're here for. You're fine.
No. I have ADHD, so I tend to
I,
ramble a lot.
dude, I do too, man. We're I feel like we're cut from the same cloth, man. We're good. We're good. Uh, but okay, so we're touching on it. Let's just dive into it. I want to start at the very beginning because I know the fighting game community means a lot to you. And I've seen like bits and pieces of your story here and there, and I just kind of want to uh I want to find out more about you. So, starting at the beginning, like what was your first exposure to the FGC and like what got you into the FGC and into playing fighting games?
When I started to do battles in high school, one of the guys who I battled sent me a clip of the Daigo parry, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I realized, I was like, "Oh shit, this is fucking crazy." And I'd always like liked Street Fighter 3 just because the way it looked and stuff, and but I wasn't really into like Street Fighter like that. Um, but then I just got super into Street Fighter. Like, I got really into Third Strike. His anniversary collection was out, and so I bought it and I played Third Strike, and I showed it to all my friends. I brought it to school to like theater stuff, and we all played it. And we got like really, really into it. Like, I would like download like videos of the internet of like Chef from UK playing Ryu and all these other people. And we went to our first Evo in 2006. Me, my friend Eric, and my friend Jeff. And we used to go to the Boomers Arcade in Irvine, like near Palace Park. And it was like not a, it was like a whatever bullshit arcade. It wasn't great, but it was like what we would do, and we would go to Camelot and play there. And so we went to my first Evo. We got one of those Tekken 5 PS2 sticks. Uh, got bodied. and then left. And you know, like we had wanted to play like competitive games for like certain competitive games for a while, but like the way it was shaking out at the time, like we used to play card games. We were fucking nerds. Um, and then but this was like our other competitive thing, and we got really really into it. And so a couple years later, we thought there was never going to be another Street Fighter, and fucking Street Fighter 4 gets announced. And so we go out to try to find an arcade to play it. It comes out, we're fucking obsessed with it. We decided to go to Evo. That do terribly, but it's a fucking great experience. It was one of the coolest things I've seen. Daigo versus Justin Wong at that time, and I looked up to all these people, and I was just like, oh man, that's just so crazy. These people like Alex Valle, man, like I wish I could be like that guy. And then I broke up with my girlfriend like shortly after that. And I was like, all right, I needed something to do. I'm just gonna go to this garage in Southern California and play because I'm gonna go to locals and I'm gonna see what happens. Right. So I found the locals thread at SRK. I went there to this guy named Shiggle's garage, and fucking Alex Valle is just there fucking playing. And like I knew who Alex Valle was, and I was like, holy fuck, dude. And so I started going there like every week, and my other friends dropped out, and I was just like, I'm just gonna play this, and it was fucking. I sucked, but I really loved the experience. It's like I'm playing with like the best players in the world here. That's fucking crazy. And you know, Vi was really harsh about and the way at the time is like I had been doing rap for a while, and like I showed my rap to Shiggle and other people to just kind of ingratiate them with me because that's how I like made friends. Like, oh, I'm good at this, you see. And Vi was like, "No, I'm not listening to that," because he knew what I was trying to do. So he was an asshole to me. Like Vi was like a fucking dick to me for bro months, man. He was really shitty and like aggressively shitty, like singling me out in front of 60 people, talking shit to me, like saying like what the fuck is the point? Why are you even fucking here? All this kind of shit. And he implemented the band matches, and I got knocked into the band matches twice and then got out of it. Like worked to get out of it. And I thought he was gonna give me shit, and he was like, "Well, you survived, Red Rapper. I like it." And the next week he listened to my song and he put it on the fucking stream. Because he was just like he just wanted to say like you have to work. And I learned so fucking much, and I was like, and then he like I give him and Jimmy Nguyen like so many props because they put me on, and then they played my song on stream, and they used it for Project Blocks when they did it, and then like James Chen was like, hey, I do all the intros for like Evo and stuff. We want to do these things like the Sprite Slam Dunk commercials where they do this slam poetry kind of shit. You want to write some raps about these games? I have some bars for Marvel too, which he gave me like the first few bars. He did not write the whole fucking thing. I saw that fucking shit, James. He did not write the whole fucking thing. Don't give me that shit. You wrote like four. I know the bars you wrote, bro, and I did that. Like they were great bars, but you don't say that. So like I love James Chen. He's amazing. He's my favorite, one of my favorite people. Like, so he gave me that opportunity, and I did all the raps for it, and then I ran out of bars by the time I got to Street Fighter 4. So I was like, fuck it. The Cody theme sounds like a rap beat. I'll rap over that, and I rapped over that, and I was just kind of hype, and I came up with it like, oh, it'll sound good. Let's be big for Street Fighter 4. And I showed it to them. I was ready for them to be like this kind of whatever. And the entire like Evo crew, like who were fucking playing the show, like Seth Killian and everybody, loved that shit. They're like, this is fucking awesome. Like you went in depth, and I like researched stuff. I wanted to make it like because I fucking hate when video game rap is just like pushed. I grew up in Irvine. They don't think rap is real music. They don't think this. I hate people pushing stuff off like it's not serious. So I want to take. What if you have this talent and you take this shit seriously? Won't it be fucking dope? So I took it seriously, and they loved it. And then I did the fucking Cody theme, like at Evo, and Chris Lee, who is a fucking great dude, was like at the end of it was like stand up Red Rapper, and everybody saw me, and then my life changed because I got a giant standing ovation from that. Went viral. People saw it on stream. All of a sudden, I started to do Street Fighter music more often, and I became this like Street Fighter rapper. They put me in a commercial for the Street Fighter 3D edition. Capcom saw it, and then I did the next year. I pitched doing an Evo theme because our theme was only Sandstorm all the time, and I was like, why don't I fucking do that? Because I have to do something else, right? And I got Mike Ross and everybody together, and we did that, and Yipes, and that played well, And so Evo had a theme, and I got to do the Evo theme. And then at the same time, I was trying to like make a movie about the fighting game community because again, I thought I was never going to be a rapper. Like I might as well get into film, and I studied film and shit. And so I worked up a lot of work to like put this short film about the Street Fighter together called Ranbat. And I wrote a script, and I got a bunch of really top players to be in it, and they took their time, and I spent money I didn't have. And people did shit for free and did me favors, and the movie never came out. And Capcom's entire leadership changed in that time. Over that time, I also got a lot of hate from people. I gained a lot of weight. I was horrible with self-care. My dad was like a super big out. My dad's was always an alcoholic, but it was like it got really bad. And then I bottomed out. I was like, I had nothing. Like I wasn't getting work. I was like I'd gotten rejected from every film school I applied to and shit. It was really bad, dude. And like I was getting a lot of hate online for just rapping these. Dude, I'd get death threats. I'd get like really racist messages on Xbox Live. I'd get fucking weird emails and shit. A few people realized who I was in like certain public places and were like, oh, that fucking shit sucked, and was like rude to me, get in my face. It was fucking bad. So I applied for Berkeley on a whim, got in. It was like, okay, I'm gonna leave the FGC, right? And then for 4 years I was there, but I never really like left. It was just a part of me still. And Street Fighter 5 at the time, I was just not really like involved with the scene all that much. And by the time I came back from Berkeley after like a bunch of years, I'd gotten viral at Berkeley and all that shit too, but then that had bottomed out, and I was trying to help my dad get sober when I got back, and that was tough. And I just slowly started to try to get back into the scene over like the years and like make a few more raps about fighting games and stuff like that. I did Everything Changes during the pandemic and stuff, and I started to kind of weave back in and the community, if you don't know, like when you leave the community, it doesn't really leave you. Like I thought people were gonna be like, why the fuck are you here? Because I was always very like on when I was not doing well, because I was just like, oh, I need something. And like
Yeah.
I remember Seth Killing one time was just like, bro, you're gonna be fine. Like you need to chill. He's very kind. And even Yipes was just like, dude, I don't want to. Yipes didn't say anything, but like I know that I was fucking annoying him and Mike and everybody like that. But like I worked really hard. I made some cool music, and as time went on, like I started to get more ingratiated with the community, started to talk with more people again. And then when everything changed hands and Evo needed to rebrand, I got reached out to about possibly redoing the Evo theme, and I've been like working to try to get that there. And so I pitched them something. This was last year. I pitched them something, right? And I started last year broke, got a job at Apple Music, and all this happened. And like I was like, why don't I do it like this? This is the music I did did this Cowboy Bebop thing that went really, really well. I did this My Hero Academia thing that Funimation used. Like, why don't we do this team? And why don't I source everything? And do you want to do intros? And like, we don't really have budget for intros, but if you have anything left over, try it. And I was like, fuck it, why don't I just do it Hail Mary and try to do all the intros? And at the time, I'm sorry, this is so long. This is like a fucking novel.
I had questions that were going to lead this conversation, but you're just doing it all for me. So this is great. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. So you're doing
cool,
great.
Thank you. Captive, welcome to my one-man TED Talk. My go-to joke. So like, yeah, no, I sourced all, and the other thing was like, I didn't want all of them to be rap because there was a giant fucking chip on my shoulder. I was like, you motherfuckers think like I'm just some rapper. I'm gonna fucking do like every genre. I'm gonna do jazz. I'm gonna do fucking punk rock. I'm gonna do metal. I'm gonna do fucking hip hop, cypher hip hop. I'm gonna do fucking Haley Williams. What's the fucking band? Oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting Haley Williams' band right now. What is it? And if why am I forgetting that name right now? I'm so tired. How can I forget that band? Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Paramore. What the
Oh
fuck?
yeah.
How do I fucking forget
I was
Paramore?
looking it up too. It's okay.
I'm gonna do Paramore. I'm gonna do fucking all the shit that you never thought I would do. And I went really, really in on it. And asked for favors, sourced with people who thought I was talented, almost got in trouble at Apple Music for fucking doing all this shit. And then 80% of the way through the project, certain people involved wanted to pull the plug. But then Rick put his shit on the line and we got it through. And it blew the fuck up. It was huge. And I got to redo the Evo theme. I got to do all the stuff, and I was like fully back in the FGC. And then the Philip DeFranco stuff happened. Like Philip DeFranco saw me on a TikTok and then was like, "Hey, Freestyle the News is really cool." And then that became my full-time job. So I quit my job at Apple Music.
Hell yeah.
And then this year, like fucking has been amazing. So like the Evo we put the Evo album together in 2 weeks.
Oh damn.
Last year was a great fucking like, hey, I did all this shit and it's great. This year, Run Back City was great. There was so much stress around this year. And like the first 2 days of Evo sucked because we were worried if the project was gonna go up, and it went up. And it has been an amazing, that and Mortal Kombat has been an insane blessing. I'm still really scared about stuff, so I'm still constantly working and trying to make sure things don't fall by the wayside. But yeah, that's kind of where I am now. Is like I got to come back. I really didn't think me getting to come back and do Evo would have happened like the way I wanted it to happen. I thought I would have maybe gotten to do 1 or 2 things. Me getting to have all of this and have a say in this and help define things and do cool shit like this has been my dream come true for quite some time now, and I'm very lucky to have it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I save receipts, motherfuckers. Whoever talks shit. So
Good.
it's my come up.
Good. Yeah, no, one big lesson that I've been learning this year is about celebrating your W's. So
Yeah.
keeping receipts and telling people what's what after you make it, that's definitely a W. So
Yeah.
celebrate that shit.
You also have to understand, like, sorry, there's also, I'm sorry, I'm talking again.
No, man.
But there's also something like you have to understand, like when you get negative feedback, when you get negative feedback that is like, what the fuck is this? Cringe, blah, 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 blah. Like that's very aggressive to something that shouldn't be that aggressively reacted to. It is like it's a good sign. Like every time I've had a project that's done that, it's usually been a success story because it means that your project is being pushed to people who would not normally like it as well. Like it's getting big enough to people where people are annoyed because it's so big. It's reaching a lot of people. That is a good sign because what you don't want is silence. Because when people normally don't like something, they just click off. Like most people just click off. When people are watching something and they need to say something because they want to express their opinion and take down something that's finding them or that other people like, it's usually a good thing because it means that there are 1, opinions on the opposite end, and 2, your project is being pushed out. It's popular. It's like it's being seen by other people, you know. That's unless there's like a giant I'm saying like when there's like a weird backlash. When there's like a giant backlash or like you've said something really fucked up, you should probably look into that. But like yeah.
Yeah, no, I relate to that a lot because this year, one of the things I got to do is I was a creative producer for the Arc World Tour Finals earlier this year. So we did like these player intros where like we had the players like pose like the characters, and it was exactly that where like I had like some people gave like really bizarre like negative feedback where it's like, oh, why would you force the players to do this? What's wrong with you? This is about the games, not about the player, or not about having fun, blah, 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 or whatever. But like being at...
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was really weird. Like some people were like, oh, this is about the game, not the players, or this isn't about having fun, this is serious, or whatever. Like people were just being super weird. But being in the room where we aired it and hearing like the oohs and ahs from the crowd was definitely one of those moments where it's like, oh shit, okay, we did something good here.
Yeah.
So I wanted
But
to
I
ask,
think,
like, were you at Evo when your songs debuted? Specifically, dude, like Run Back City. When I heard Run Back City, I was sitting there at Evo. It was just one of those things where I was like, damn, I like, and I haven't stopped up thinking about Run Back City since.
oh,
Were
thank
you
you.
at Evo? Were you able to like
Yeah,
get like
I
audience
ran.
reactions?
I was yeah, like literally, I was in the front row, and we ran across the front row and told everybody to fucking stand up. So
Hell
we were
yeah.
screaming, telling the whole row like, stand up! Like me, I was just going fucking nuts in the front row, so I get to enjoy the video, but I got to fucking get hype and shit like that. And watching everyone stand up in the crowd was definitely a fucking like a big moment that I've been trying to like.
Hell yeah.
I worked hard. We worked hard for that moment. Like that was something we didn't know if it would happen. We thought it could. We thought it would happen. It would either happen and people were like, why are we doing this? What the fuck? Like, or people would get hype and people were screaming. They got the Guile thing. Because also when we did the Guile thing first, like so Alex V, who's the producer on it, I sent him the idea for like the Guile because when he gave the beat and I sent him the idea of he did the Guile section and I sent him the idea of doing the like the Raul Julia bit before it and because I've done references to Bison like for two, so it's like a trilogy kind of right, like where I've
Mhm.
done this reference twice, and it's also a celebration of Evo and stuff. So I was like, this is like I came here to fight people. Know, we outside now. People know, but that's for the from the pandemic and everything. But I came here to fight. Everybody knows that shit. Um, Let's Go Justin got a way bigger reaction than I thought it would. I thought people would think that's a throwaway line, and they fucking loved it. But I mentioned that Daigo Justin kind of thing for a while.
Mhm.
And then the chorus got a big thing. So funny thing when I wrote the chorus for the la 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 la
Oh
la
yeah.
la. Two things. Two things. So I have a song called "Feels Like 1994" where I go la 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 da. I was referencing that and I was like, "Oh, like that's just a thing in hip hop where that happens." I completely forgot that it was fucking Menon until midway through when we were doing the song, and we were like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna fucking work." So then I got my girlfriend Maddie, to do background vocals and everything like that. And she did fucking an amazing job. And so like, bro, like it was like I was like, "Oh shit, that got a response." And then when he heard the Raw Julia thing, he was just like, bro, this is corny, bro. Like it's corny, bro. I'm like, I don't think all right, we'll take it out. And then like I think this is the good thing about I we were so swamped, I didn't give them another version to do it. And then they were like, I was like, hey man, so we're probably gonna switch it out and have something else. He's like, we can't do that right now. I'm like, why? Like, we are already halfway through that. And if you say that, it will fuck the whole project. So that stays. And everyone is kind of obsessed with it. And I'm like, oh great. Well, no, he didn't say that, but he was like, Rick really likes it. We all really like it. We know where this is going. And they spent a fuck ton of time on that shit. And so like to the point where like I redid the Raw Julia thing
Mm.
to make it more intense. And then Rick was like, put it back to the first version you did, that you were just kind of doing it for a demo. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And that played really, really well. And it the fact that people saw it as a tribute, the fact that it kind of encapsulated everything that we wanted to do, the fact that we got to do like what's even crazier is like the weakest song on that album, I felt it wasn't the weakest song, but we were really worried about it because it was just like it was a song that we had to just finish up the quickest because we didn't get to spend the most time on it, was Fight or Fade. We were so worried that people would think that's weak, and some people were like, it's not as good as the other ones. Everyone loves that song. That song is one of the best songs on the album.
Mhm.
Because people immediately were like, oh, it's a fucking Linkin Park AMV for Dragon Ball Fighters. Like, that's fucking awesome. And it mentions rollback. Like, bro, like, I'm just so happy that it was communicated and everybody kind of saw themselves in that. Um, you know, there was some controversy with KOF, but like a lot of the Mexican players were very, very happy. Um, I was just, yeah, like Run Back City, like I was in the crowd for all of them. I will say this year there were a lot of sound problems for the first 2 days, and that was contributing to some of my worries. We were doing social media differently. We were kind of figuring it out on the fly. How were we going to do it? But Chris, who runs the Evo socials, is such a fucking just a genuinely, everybody who works at Evo now is just a genuinely good person. And I've, you know, I've worked in and around this event and around FGC stuff for a while, and people like Level Up are great, and people like the Evo team right now are great. Like it's hard to find, like usually you will meet certain people in bigger companies, having worked at Apple and having worked at through like the last year, getting to do a bunch of collaborations where sometimes it's hit and miss. Sometimes you find people who are just kind of like not not the easiest to work with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their fault. It's just they're disorganized sometimes. It just happens. It's not a personal thing. But these guys are like, bro, we know how it is. We fucked up. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna make sure like there's a genuine heart there that you don't find in a lot of other places. And um I was very Chris, like when we were worried the album was gonna bomb the first 2 days. And then fucking the third day they went overdrive and they banked everything on that, and it worked so well. And we're almost at 1 million streams right
Hell
now
yeah,
for Impact, so we're doing really really well.
dude.
And it's a giant Sony's super happy with it. Evo is super happy with it, and I'm excited to do more shit next year too. So
Hell yeah, dude. First of all, congratulations, man. Because I I'm also like I worked as a video editor. I got laid off recently, but I used to work in esports,
oh my god, I'm
and
so sorry.
it's fine. Again, blessing in disguise. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, working like I did a lot of stuff for Overwatch League, and I did a lot of stuff for Call of Duty League,
yeah,
FIFA, and you run into a
oh
lot
yeah,
of people who work there but don't necessarily like they aren't involved with the
yeah.
community, right? So I think it's so rare to see like a bunch of people who are super involved with the community, like yourself, like Rick, Chris, Valle, put their passion into it, and you can definitely tell, like for like
I do
all
want to
of
also shout out Jimmy Nguyen, by the way. So Jimmy,
yes,
I always tries to say that Jimmy Nguyen is a huge part of Level Up. So he's also very that guy bleeds for the community all the time.
yeah, 100%. I I I've been in contact with him. Hopefully I'll get him on the show in the near future.
Oh, he'd love to. He'd love it, I'm sure.
Yeah, but like seeing like I think especially with the FGC, right? I think the community itself has a little bit of a chip on its shoulder when it comes to esports, right? Because there's the real esports, right? Like League of Legends and all the other big esports, and then there's
Yeah,
the FGC. So seeing something like the album for Evo this year and even last year and even like your music in general, where you take such great care to like really show that you're a part of the community and you know what you're talking about and you're making the music for us, like that I think is like what feels really special about the stuff you make.
yeah.
Because it's one of those things where like being seen through like a through music is like one of those
Right.
things where it's like, damn, I didn't realize, like I never realized that like Zed was like this into the community and he speaks the language I speak and he thinks like how I think, et cetera, et cetera. So like seeing stuff like that, and especially like being in a room with like 10,000 other people watching something new and like just vibing with it is like super
Yeah.
duper special.
No, I appreciate that so much, and that's the thing. Like that, it's just great when that translates. Like, and I mean in the sense that like dude, a lot of music for video games just feels very pandery, and we're talking about this as a sport. And the thing, I think a lot of the fighting game community and even other esports just kind of don't understand what the sports model actually
Mm-hmm.
is, because the sports model didn't even, like understand what it is after a while. Um, Sports are an experience. Like you go to Mark Cuban's editor or someone, but like when you go to a Laker games, that is an experience from top to bottom. It's not just it starts from when you just drive into the parking lot because there's a fucking million people there. It's traffic jammed. How the fuck am I gonna get in here? That's an experience. Like, oh, this is a big deal. And then you walk through the doors with all these other people. There's a bunch of stands that are trying to sell you food, and it smells a certain way. It smells like hot dogs and pretzels. You see stands that people want to engage with you with, right? Like and people in jerseys and everybody talking, and you go into the stadium, and it's like there, like. And when the game is going on, it's just constant movement. Things are constantly happening. Like, what the fuck? It's quick. There's stuff in between, like it's a full experience that you have as a person emotionally with this game, with these players, with all of this stuff that doesn't really care whether you play the game or not. It cares whether you love the game or not. And if whether you love the culture around it, like they don't care about the rules of basketball. They care about how basketball is played and what basketball means to people. And that's what's interesting. And so when you talk about Street Fighter, people love Ryu, people love like drive impacts and mechanics and pressing buttons and everything like that. But when you mention shit like everybody having to borrow a stick all the time,
Mm-hmm.
or you know how it feels when somebody gets hit, or watching the first couple seconds of 99 tick down as two really big players start to play, or um you know when you lose your voice after, like little details like that, which are prevalent throughout all sports when you get to it. um those are what really make it a special experience, and we don't have enough of the cultural capital like we should in these things. And so like a big thing that I want to do, and a lot of other musicians want to do here, is I want to build the cultural capital for the scene, so that this is not just like, it's not nerdy rap, it's just rap, or nerdy like metal music, it's just metal music. The metal singer, the people we got are not just game musicians. We have a lot of people there who are pop musicians, right? Who are doing really well, really crazy things in pop music and in rock music and in metal music. Um, and all of those things kind of coalesce to what we have. And that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It should be taken seriously, like in the sense that it's like like anybody should be able to hear that song. Anybody can hear Run Back City and have a good fucking time,
Mm-hmm.
and then they find out it's all about Street Fighter, right? One thing at Berkeley that happened was like one of the days there was a songwriting class I was in with a bunch of other people, and I wrote Wednesday Night, which is a song on one of my albums. It was about Wednesday night fights. I was really scared to play that because you get feedback, and people at Berkeley are usually kind of either really complimentary or in their own heads and kind of assholes about stuff, right? But that class was very like, yo, I'm gonna tell you how I think, and you're gonna get a harsh critique out of me. And I played them Wednesday night, and I was ready for them to be like, I don't know what the fuck this song is about. What is this song about? And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. It just seems isn't eventful, and I was ready for that. But I was just like, let's just see how it goes. And I got like a resounding like, this is really fucking cool. Like, holy shit, like, because you care about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like people just like what you care about. They don't give a fuck if you really like Red Bull and you made a song about how much you really like Red Bull. That's a fucking hit song, right? Like if I make a song about how much I fucking love this community, that's a fucking hit. So I think building the cultural capital of the community is important, and we don't do it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that becomes more of a part of all of this, instead of just like we need to nerf, if the conversation after Evo was a lot about the players, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what we need, not less of like, I don't know where JP stands in the top 10 rank. Fuck that. It's not about nerf JP. Yeah, that's important, but the dominance should be like, yo, Angry Bird's fucking killing it. Like, yo, Noah's back. Yo, this is happening. Yo, man, like, what's the food like in Daytona? Like, that should be the cultural relevance of this community. And I think we are moving towards that, because this game is fun, and it should be fun first, competition second, because that's what basketball is. And competition is still the driving force of it,
Mm-hmm.
but you gotta have fun with the game first before you fucking give a shit about the competition.
100%.
Yeah.
I have one quick question for you. It is
Yes.
9:50. Do you have time to stick around and chat just a little bit more, or are you pressed for time?
I have a few more minutes. I'm probably gonna have to leave at 8. So
Okay, that's fine. I just have a
sorry,
couple more.
so
Oh no,
much, man.
no, dude, this is exactly what I wanted. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure, like, because for me, like, if it was up to me, like, we could just sit here and talk all night. But I have a couple of questions for you. First, I think talking about that culture capital, the way you contributed to the scene is through music, right? And it feels like, as far as our scene, there's a lot of like, there are a lot of people who, like, we're all like around fighting games, but I feel like the community itself starts at fighting games and then it branches out from there. So
Mm-hmm.
since you're contributing in a unique way, right? Because sometimes when, especially when you're getting into like competitive stuff, it feels like the only way you can contribute is either through like commentary or being a good player. So since you're
Right.
contributing in a in unique way, um, do you have any advice for people who want to contribute to the fighting game community but don't necessarily know how, or like need to find their own way to contribute to it?
Finding your own way to contribute to it is the thing. So like I didn't want to just be the music contributor for a while because I wanted to be the player contributor. Like I wanted to be like a really good, because I was good at video games, and like whenever new fighting games came out, I was like really cool amongst people for they won't admit it, but like I was good for like a day. I was fucking there was a point where Marvel 3 came out, and I perfected NDOCR one time. He will not admit it. But like I perfected him. But I was playing Ryu Zero Sentinel, which is a terrible team. And let's be very real, I sucked at that game. Like I suck at that game. And Andy took like 3 out, like labbed the next day, and I never beat him again. Like there's net like that's the thing. So like I like yeah, I have sharp reflexes, but I don't have the commitment and the over indexing of it. Here's how I figured out the music thing. I I like playing Street Fighter. I like fucking live and breathe rap. Like that's like I fucking there are people at Berkeley who would try to rap, and some of them are really good, but some of them would do it, but they're also playing trumpet, and like it's like a thing on the side. And I'm like, well, why they're good though, but why aren't they? Why do people respond to mine more than theirs? Oh, because I will spend 8 hours a day doing this. They will spend like 3, right? And it's just like a whatever. I will like listen to songs I don't like and learn new flow patterns and like fucking do things I don't want to do to get better at this. They're kind of like, I just want to be comfortable, and that'll work sometimes. But like they're just that. I I will just spend all of it. Like it's a time sink. It's where are you spending your time? Like is this your 100? Are you giving your 100 to Street Fighter? Find out what you are giving your 100 to and be contributive about it, and that's what you need to do. Don't do it don't don't be a player because you think you're better than everybody else and you want to make a buck. What's the most contributive way you can be a part of the community? If it's because you want to play good, then yeah, go for it. You can do any of the things that you want to do. It's just what do you love even when it is stressful and like you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. Even when rap is stressful, I love it. Even when it is like I don't want to fucking rap today, I love it. When you find that, that's what you do, and you find a way to relate it to the community. And yeah, if it's selfless, it's great,
Oh yeah.
and
Great
it'll come
advice.
back to you. It'll enrich you afterwards too. Yeah.
100%. Okay, I have three final questions because some people from our Discord asked some questions. First
Yes,
is
I'm sorry.
Oh no. This is from Steve Jurek, former co-host of the show. He's unfortunately now a dad, so he can't be on the show.
Oh man.
But he asked, how much of epic battles of MVC3 history can you still spit from memory?
Fuck. Uh, Yo, I'm a murder doom. Take your mask off. Crack open that glass jaw. Da 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 da. As you blast off. That's about it. That's fucking 11 years ago, man.
Damn,
I
we're all getting old.
Yeah, bro.
Next, this is from Squidly. They're taking in a music appreciation class in college. Is there anything he should know before he gets too deep into it?
To music appreciation?
Mhm.
What college? Was it Berkeley or
No, I think it's just like one of those gen ed music appreciation courses where they like sit you down
what
and
should
make
you
you
know about
listen
music
to.
appreciation? Those courses tend to be very geared towards whatever the establishment of that place thinks is should be appreciated for music. So I would say, um, like if you're taking a music appreciation class, what you should do honestly, and what's a lot more fun honestly, is to just like find a bunch of genres you don't normally listen to, and listen to the shit that like makes you feel like, oh, what the fuck is this? But listen and try to figure out like what would I like about if I was somebody different, what would I like about this? and like train your ear to, because that's what I did with Drake. I did that this year. So I did that with death metal this year
Mm.
because I was not into death metal. And I had to listen to death metal from Mortal Kombat. And I found out how fucking similar death metal is to like certain rap things, like with where the rhythm is and like the fucking percussiveness of it. And it was a lot of fun, dude. And I found out some shit that I actually like really liked. And it's more music, man. You just get more shit to do. That's the most fun. Like it's like free food, man. It's a buffet. Like
Yeah.
just I would say go find a genre you're not like you're kind of like this is interesting, like country or like rap or like ska, bro. Ska, you'll go into a fucking rabbit hole, man. Like there's so much cool shit. Like, and when you see it done at like a high level, you're like, what the this is so fucking cool. And it's all on Spotify, man. It's like free. You have music is a search bar. Like you live in like the best era to do this. So
100%.
I would do that, and all music should be appreciated. And if they say otherwise, they're fucking dumb. So
Agreed. And last but not least, this is from Jimmy. What's your favorite Street Fighter character of all time, and who's your current Street Fighter 6 main?
My favorite Street Fighter character of all time. I play Ryu in every game, so but that feels like a cop out. But I really like Ryu. I think my favorite character, like in terms of like lore or like mechanics, I'm just gonna list a bunch of characters. I like Ryu. I like Cody. I like I thought Goken was really cool the way they integrated him. I thought that was fucking awesome. I think Lily's design is fucking awesome. But yeah, I love Ryu. I played Necro when Street Fighter 3 first came out because I thought it looked really cool. But yeah, in terms of like who I'm maining, I main Ryu. I drop Lily. I may pick up Ken, but I'm not a big fan of Ken. I just want to play him because I want to have a good time. And then I want to play Aki simply because she has Lakers colors, and I just want to fucking beat people's ass and be like, "Yo, block Mamba, bro. Mamba mentality." That's all I want to do.
Hell yeah.
And I will do it, bro. I'll do that shit. I'll enter a tournament as Mamba mentality and then fucking unmask myself and be
Do
fucking
it. Next Evo. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Next Evo. Yeah, if I'm not stressed. The goal is to not stress myself out next Evo. Like I got this project done in 2 fucking weeks, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's ridiculous.
And yeah. And like the mixing and everything like that and the stuff around it took like a little bit longer, like a slight amount longer. And then we were kind of pushing the clock on that. But we're gonna get our shit done in way earlier next year, and I'm excited to give more fighting game people more opportunities and grow this shit because it can be really big.
Oh yeah, dude, that means a lot to me, and just like how it means a lot to the community, man. So it is 8 o'clock.
That means a lot.
So it is 8 o'clock. So
yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat, man. This is this is all I hoped it would be. You're an amazing human being,
man, thank
and
you.
I vibe. And the fact that we're like, it feels like we're kind of cut from the same cloth with the background in music and with how
man.
This has been really, really cool. And if you ever want to be back on the show, man, just let me know. We'll have you back on whenever.
Of course, man. I'm glad. I like your show, dude, and I have followed you for a bit. So yeah, man. I'm glad things are going well, and I wish you all the best, dude. It's fucking great, and yeah, I'll come back on at some point.
Hell yeah! And if you ever want, if you're ever looking for musicians for real samples, let me know, man. I got a whole hookup in New York, so
of course. By the way, those were actual horns, motherfucker.
I know.
I just want to let you know.
I know. I guess my ear is ass because I heard it and I was like, man, MIDI horns again. But then when you said when you mentioned that those were real horns, I was like, yeah. And I listened back to it, looking for it, and I was like, damn, dude, I guess my ear is just ass now.
Bro, that just happens though because like I think a lot of times people will like it's very hard to record like certain instruments and some people will just be like, is that MIDI? I'm like, no, motherfucker, it's real. So that just happens in general. Like, so it's not your fault, bro. Like it happens. It was just one of those things where it was like, oh, okay. Receipts.
No, and I think the reason why I was so adverse to it is because of Marissa's track in Street Fighter 6, where like it would be so cool with like a jazz band, like having like that super
Yeah.
attitude heavy thing, but it just MIDI and it's like, but yeah,
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there's lots of stuff we can talk about for music moving forward, but yeah, no, I appreciate. I do have to go.
yeah, for sure,
Um, but no, man, this was a ton of fun. It was a blast, and I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me on, and I will talk to you soon, man.
for sure, man. Hit me up whenever. We'll chat.
Of course, bro. All right,
All right,
talk
later,
soon.
man. All right, ladies and gents, that was Zaid Tabani. Giving him a big old round of applause there.